How y'all doing out there? Doing all right? So my name is Bobby Brito Oliveira, and I am welcoming you all to the 16th Annual Alumni of Color Network Panel. Give yourself a round of applause for being here. Along with Sarah Montero, I am co-chair of Alumni of Color Network, and I'm going to start this evening by providing you all with the University Land Acknowledgement. The University of Rhode Island occupies the traditional stomping ground of the Narragansett Nation and Niantic people. We honor and respect the enduring and continuing relationship between the indigenous people in this land by teaching and learning more about their history and present-day communities, and by becoming stewards of the land we too inhabit. Get up for the Narragansett people. So, give you a little background. My journey here at URI began in 2001, entering through talent development, double alum classes of 2006 and 2011. Worked at URI in various capacities after graduate school, initially as the coordinator for student diversity initiatives for the College of Environment and Life Sciences. Went back home to talent development to work there for 8.5 years as an academic advisor. And for nearly 4 years now, I've been serving the university as the assistant director for URI's Multicultural Student Service Center. The reason why I'm here today is because of the ACN. The ACN was founded back in 2007, and we'll get into the history a little bit later. But when I joined in 2009, this panel initially occupied a small space in a lounge, no more than, I would say, 20 or so students in there. Later moved on into Galante Lounge and now occupy this space. Right now, we're still in our rebuilding stage. We took a few years off because of the pandemic, but we are happy to have you all here with us as we rebuild the ACN, rebuild this panel, and invest in our legacy as alumni. I would now like to thank some of our leaders from the university who are here present with us today. And please hold your applause as I say their names. Actually, no, give it up for each and every one of them as I say it. Go ahead, you know what I mean? We have Mary Palange. Dr. Christopher Lavin, Associate Vice Provost of the Office for Advancement in Teaching and Learning. Where you at, Chris? Aura Fajardo Grandridge, Assistant Dean for Diversity and Student Success Initiatives. I saw Aura, where's she at? Aura's right here. Michelle Nada, Vice President of the URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement. We have Chuck Watson. Where you at, Chuck? Chuck Watson from the College of Engineering, Big Chuck. We have Jean Sabumeri. Sorry, Jean, I just asked him too. Jean Sabumeri from the Multicultural Student Service Center. Christina Morgan, Associate Director of the Talent Development Program, also member of the Alumni of Color Network. And last and certainly not least, we have the reason why I'm here with the ACN today, someone who, when I was in grad school, brought on a lot of new alumni, future alumni. Centoya, where you at? Centoya's right back there. Give it up to Centoya, also a member of the Alumni Color Network. Someone who saw us as the future leaders of this university, even though we were younger, undergraduate and graduate students alike. At that time, she occupied the space in the Alumni Center as assistant director. Made a lot of transition since then, but she's here with us today as the Assistant Vice President of Community Equity Diversity, and that is Michelle Fons, right here. So every year at this event, I like to show homage to those who paved the way for me as a young alum, as now a little bit more of a seasoned alum, and some of those people, obviously TD is a given, talent development family is a given, but outside of that, my options were very limited as far as my resources and my mentors on this campus. Dr. Ray Ferguson from Africana Studies, Dr. Pernell Joseph from Africana Studies, Dr. Cynthia Hamilton from Africana Studies. Those are my go-to people. Notice how I said Africana Studies every single time. I didn't really have folk on campus to go to and utilize as a resource during my undergraduate experience. Today we have several panelists up here right now, and each of them are here for a reason. Some of them I came up with, like George and Rex and Berna, my colleagues here at the university, ran around campus together. Others were students while I was here, like Jessica and Steve. Others rang bells before I got here, like Tammy. Didn't know who Tammy was initially. I always heard her name. And then finally at the TD 50th, I got to meet her, and I was like, oh, that's Tammy. All right, smooth. You know what I mean? So we have a legacy of students here. A lot of times we, as people of color on this campus, we don't recognize the wealth that we have, of knowledge that we have, the resources that we have. We don't come from, many of us don't come from a legacy of financial freedom or a legacy here on this campus to say, oh, my grandfather came here, what have you. But we do have a wealth of knowledge in our alumni, not only in this panelist, but in our alumni in the audience. So I want to give homage to y'all too. If you're an alum of color in the audience right now, would you please stand up and be recognized? So this is what community looks like. This is what giving back looks like. This is what solidarity looks like. And we all stand on the shoulders of giants. We did at one point, we still do. You all will too. One day it's gonna be you sitting on panels like this, giving back to future alumni who look like you. And it's very imperative that we continue that legacy and invest in one another, because if we don't, who will? And today we have our panelists here to share their stories, because who can share our stories better than us? Please take full advantage of that. At this time, I want to invite our moderator up. Our moderator, some of y'all heard this before, you're gonna hear it again, because I say it every chance I get. Known this young lady since 1990, what's that, 34 years now? That's all right, that's all right. Good black ain't cracking, you good. You know what I mean? So I was in second grade at Fossman Elementary School. She was in kindergarten. Our families go way back when her family first came from the old country. Initially connected with my family right away. Her uncle, who was the legacy here at this university, once told me that his family only felt comfortable with his family going to school in America. How many kids were there? 12 kids. Felt comfortable going there because my grandmother, who spoke Creole, worked at the school, and my grandfather, who spoke Creole, worked at the Boys and Girls Club. That's where they can go, between school and the Boys and Girls Club, because they had community. They had people who were invested in them. And again, we have invested in each other for the last 34 years. Came here as undergraduates together, went through our whole life together. And for the last several years, she served as my co-chair. And while I am sad to see her step back from that role after this academic year, I am happy that she will continue that legacy with the ACN, continue her investment in the URI, in our community of color. And right now I want to welcome our moderator, Ms. Sarah Montero, to the stage.
Great.
Sorry for giving you a heart attack.
Oh, please, you good.
If I can ask at this time, I know we're all eating salads, I know we're behind schedule, but I refuse at this point in my time in life to move without peace. So I just want to collect peace in this room real quick. Is that cool by y'all? All right. So I'm going to ask that you push your chair away from your table and that you align yourself. If you've been around me, you already know what's about to happen. For some, it'll be a shock, right? But push yourself back and then slide yourself halfway off your chair, forcing your back to be your anchor, and anchor yourself within your spinal cord. Make sure your knees are aligned with your shoulders and that you are allowing for the passage, the breath of life to enter your body. Are y'all ready? The first breath we are going to take today is selfishly just for ourselves, to celebrate ourselves and give back anything that has been taken from us. Are y'all ready? The breath of life goes in through the nose, comes out of the mouth. And I encourage you to take this time for yourself on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. The second breath we take are for those that are friends and family. Bobby, today I take this breath for you. For those that encourage you, even when your fuel is low, even when the road seems long, they tell you to keep going, that you got it. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. The third and the last breath we'll take today is for community. I take this breath for URI today. The places that become like nurseries to us, that help us grow us up, that give us the nourishments we need to go on to the next chapter. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can reposition yourself at your seats. I'm running a little bit late today, and Bobby was so graceful to hold space to allow me to start this correctly. But part of being human and part of being professional is knowing your limitations and knowing when to admit when you have your shortcomings. And today is not a shortcoming for me. Today was collecting peace before I came. Peace that I have done what I set out to do here. So like Bobby indicated, this year I'm stepping down as co-chair, but it's not because I'm leaving, it's just because I'll be hovering over. But life has pushed me into different paths, and when life is pushing you into your new chapter, be unafraid of walking through it and roaming loudly. And I'm ready to move on, but never under the indication that I will leave this place. So thank you, each and one of you guys, because you guys are also the reason why I'm a little bit late. I knew I would be in the presence of giants, and I didn't want to come half-stepping. And so I appreciate all of our panelists here today. We will get to know them in depth. We will get to know them. And I was thinking about for the students, what I need you guys to understand is that today is about, I want y'all to treat this conversation kind of like you treat your GPS, right? You know your destination. You know where you want to go. That's up to you. Who and what we are different routes. So today is kind of a direction, is what we're giving you, but your intentionality, your purpose, and your destination, that's something that has to come from you. And so everything we give you here today is a seed, and you could choose to plant it and grow it. And I promise you, we will not steer you wrong. But in order to get the full nourishment of this night, you have to be here and you have to be present, mind, body, and soul. These people are going to impart wisdom that did not come overnight for them. It has come at their expense of their blood, shed, and tears at times, hard nights, self-doubt. And it took them overcoming all of that to sit in front of you today to tell you that you can make it to the places that you want to go. And so I hope today that we don't talk at you, but we talk with you. I hope that you take advantage of this time, because there's very few spaces that are still honoring authenticity, that are honoring honesty. And ACN, that is part of our fiber. We do not move in dishonesty. We will never mislead you. And everything we do is with love. So I hope that that's what's received today. And for all of the students that are currently here, please stand up. I love how some of y'all are looking at me twice like, please give it up for them. We know as alums, go ahead and have a seat. We know as alums what it takes to trek up that hill sometimes after a hard day. We know that your days are not easy. We know that you are fighting silent battles at times, and for you to choose to be here right now, that's super dope, and we appreciate you. So please, a round of applause for all the students. And so before we begin, I'd like to say a special thanks to all of our partners. Build, give it up for Build, please, which is an initiative coming out of MSSC. I definitely want to shout out Jean Sakpase. I want to shout out Jean and Bobby and all of the Multicultural Center that has been really instrumental in partnering with us to make sure that everything happens today. The Office of Community, Equity, and Diversity, Michelle Mybel, thank you guys for all that you've done to make ACN fortified. The Division of Student Affairs and Diversity Grant, please give it up for them. The URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement, we've been at this for a lot of years. We've been redefining, going back to the table, making sure that this thing really is what it's supposed to be. Michelle Nada, thank you for being here today. Lil's not in the building, but I definitely shout her out. And I definitely shout out Amy Simonini, who has brought us up to this point. And I actually want to ask for a 15-second moment of silence. Amy has lost her mother at this time, and even in her grief, she continues to think about us and send us messages of hope. So if we can take 15 seconds to just acknowledge her grief right now. Please give it up for the URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement again, please. And Giselle, where are you? Giselle, thank you for all of your work. She is our intern for diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. Tonight, our panelists will share experiences as scholars, professionals of color, to help you gain greater understanding of the challenges you may face in campus and in the workforce, but also leave you with hope. Following the panel, we will open the floor up for question and answers afterwards, and we will feed y'all good dinner. Fair? There we go. That's my child, y'all. How many people took headshots? How many people got here in time to take headshots? Yes, shout out to our photographer, Ernest. Don't just take them headshots, use them, and know that headshots are really expensive, y'all, so shout out to URI for picking up the bill. All right, y'all ready to get this party started? First, we have Jessica. Please give it up for Jessica, a round of applause. Next, we have George. George, I haven't seen you in a while. This is gonna be fun tonight. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, I already inboxed her and let her know how it's going down today, but I'm a huge fan. Please give it up for Aganza. Rex, I don't know you, but we're gonna get to know each other tonight. Give it up for Rex. And next up, Steve. Pleasure to meet you tonight. Give it up for Steve. There's bias in this air. I'm not even going to deny it because you know a burn. Next, give it up for Bernadette. And I grew up during the era we say we save the best for last. Give it up for Tammy. So this is really fun because I actually have a lot of curiosity myself. I know some of y'all, but I want to get to know all of y'all, and I hope that we get down to the meat of this. So the way this works is I throw out the question, and we treat this like church, y'all. Whoever feels spirited enough to answer it, you go ahead and do that. We try to keep every question within 3 to 5 minutes. Fair? But please, speak your truth. Okay? There's no censoring. We're not sending transcripts to your workplaces or anything like that today, right? And there's no Dave Chappelle like here to make sure that Keep It Real doesn't go wrong, right? So let's have fun today. Y'all ready? Yeah. All right. First question. And I always change up the questions, y'all, so I probably should have told you that because they emailed it to you. No, I'm like Oprah. I like the raw experience of your answer. So the first question is, discuss the challenges you have faced transitioning from college to workforce. But I would like you to emphasize, too, about not only the challenges you faced, but who were the support systems you went through in order to get through those challenges. Oh, y'all ain't had no challenges? Go ahead.
I'll jump right in there. I'm happy. Hi, y'all. I'm Bernadette. I think the difficulty that I faced transitioning from being a college student to a professional was really trying to. Thank you. Can you hear that? How's that? Is that better? So I think the challenge that I faced in my transition was really trying to hone in on what it was, what profession was the best profession for me. I felt like I had many different talents and many different aspirations. So I tried a little bit of everything, and it took me quite some time to figure out what my niche was. But I did have folks that recognized some of my talents. A woman named Pamela Riley, who kind of pulled me in and snuck me into child welfare by just being like, oh, you know, this is a good second job. You can do this part time. And then really tricked me into realizing my true passion, which was child welfare. So,
Yes, thank you for that. Challenges.
I'll go. Hi guys, it's Aganza. Um, I think for me specifically I think for me it was more culture shock because I couldn't really go to my family to ask for that because I was the first gen, and so I didn't really have anybody. I kind of I literally was only here in the U.S. for a year when I came to college, and so when I graduated, it was kind of like on my own. But I think it was just more learning the difference between just like doing something to clock in and clock out and doing something that you actually love, and I think that's really hard. And so I had to make connections, and I know it sounds but strange. A lot of strangers were my kind of people because they were the ones that I would just wouldn't be afraid and just ask them like, hey, what should I do? Like I don't know what to do, and so I think it's overcoming that fear of just ask because later on you're gonna look back and be like, I should have just asked to just get that connection or get that job or if they had that job opportunity. So I know sometimes it's hard to get out of that social, especially me. I'm an introvert. Um, but just do it. And if I mean, as long as it's not hurting anybody, just like ask, because it's the best thing you could probably do. So.
Thank you for that.
I can go next. For me was actually finding a job. I think that's as a senior, that's hard. And I mean, like I like what she said. Gonza said, when you're like a first gen and you don't have the connections, you see some of your classmates. I remember I studied biomedical engineering. I was the only Latina that graduated that year within that class. And it was like, who do I go to? Like, I see these kids, their parents are engineers, like, they have all these like connections, and I really don't have anything. And obviously, my parents clearly don't know, right? So what I just kind of just started hustling, bustling, just applied to different jobs and just kind of recklessly just try to figure it out, right? And, I was grateful that I did have like an engineering community here, like Chuck and the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers who kind of guided me through that. But it was rough. And on top of that is just going from the mindset of, I've been in school my whole life. And the goal has been get my degree. All right, now I got my degree. Life, what is the next step? Like, what is the next goal? You don't have that hard stop of like getting that degree anymore. So it's just kind of identifying that and kind of identifying, I think, like for me, like growing up first immigrant, like whatever, but my parents is always like, get a good career, get a good job. But I was like, am I doing this for you or am I doing this for myself? Like do I want to do this for the money or do I not? And I think that's one of the things that we need to start thinking about as people of color are like, are we doing this for our parents or are we doing it for ourselves? And we need to take control of that when we get out of college and really seek where our values are and what we want to do. So
I appreciate that. I'm taking some notes, and I encourage you all to. In the back of the program, we have built in a space so that you can take down these different gems with you, because everything may not resonate or click today, but it will later. How many people in here identify as first generation students? There we go. I love that you touch on that. And I wrote down, am I doing this for myself or am I doing this for my family, right? And sometimes it doesn't have to be totally separate, but you have to have that audacity, is what I keep hearing. Audacity to dream, audacity to hope, and audacity to ask for help. So thank you for that. Anybody else want to take that before we go to the next fun one?
I'll go. I share a similar story. I remember when I graduated in 2014 with an accounting degree. I had pretty good grades, but I couldn't find an internship. I couldn't find a job. I applied everywhere. And I didn't even think about getting a graduate degree. The only reason I got a graduate degree is because I couldn't find a job. And I got my master's degree, and I was like, at this point, all right, I have a master's degree. I had served in Afghanistan. I used to be in the military. I'm a veteran. Now I could get a job, and that wasn't the case either. And it was difficult, but eventually I connected with a professor of mine, Alex Hazara. I don't know if he's still here. He put in a good word for me for a state auditor job And that's how I got my first job. But it is difficult, and that's something that I want to tell you, especially as a minority. That's something you're gonna see. I've seen it with other people, very qualified people, where it's challenging to get a job. And understanding that is going to help you, be prepared. That if you do have any resistance, if you do have any type of, setback, don't let that defeat you. That is just how the playing field is set up, but you shouldn't quit, you shouldn't stop, and that shouldn't stop you from, achieving your goal.
Thank you for that. I'm actually going to ask a follow-up question because I like to talk about when things don't work out and when one door closes, another one opens, right? So you said you weren't even thinking about your master's, but those other doors closed kind of forced you to go through that portal. Why do you think that happened? Looking back now, and are you grateful for it?
I'm absolutely grateful for it. I mean, when you don't have options, what do you got to make your own door? And I don't want to take too much of time, but even I've had several jobs now since I've left college, and even after gaining experience, not being able to get promoted, not getting other jobs was something that I've encountered. But all those challenges have led me to something positive. I couldn't get a promotion on my job, so I wrote a book. I have a children's book called Anna and Banana, which was inspired by my son. I have multifamilies as a result of rejections from not getting promotion. I have my own business. I'm a CPA. I got my CPA certification just because I couldn't get a promotion. So you could use setbacks as fuel to motivate you and do better, or you could just be like, feel sorry for yourself, and but nobody cares for what you went through. People want to know how you overcame things. People don't want to know how much challenge you faced if you don't overcome them. And yeah, that's something that I advocate for. Like, use the challenges to overcome and open doors, like you said, for yourself.
We was gonna miss all that good information just because they didn't let you straight into a job. Thank you for sharing that. That is fabulous. I'm so happy they didn't give you a job. You wouldn't have been as amazing as you are right now, or multifaceted. And that's what the point of today is, y'all. We're gonna land you on hope every time because there is no stopping you if you determine that you're gonna get to your destination. And sometimes your destination might have moved, right? You ever seen a business move and you go to its older location and it's not there no more? Sometimes your destination moves. And not being deterred by that is what I hear you saying, right? Nobody really wants to attend your pity party, right? They want to attend your congratulations party, so thank you for that. The next question is, what influenced your decision to go straight to graduate school or straight out of the workforce? But I want to reshape that question, and I actually want everybody to answer that. So there's different pathways, right? There's different pathways out of high school, right? Obviously, we all chose the pathway of college, and that brought us all into this room. But there's even different pathways out of college. And so if everybody can take at least 2 minutes to say, what did you choose? And if we can start here, Tammy, what did you choose to do after college? What did it look like? What did the beginning look like for you?
Sure. So, thank you for starting with me because I was actually thinking about it already. And for reshaping the question because it fits exactly to what I was going to talk about. I did have a slightly non-traditional pathway in that I had my first child second semester of my first year here at URI. And so it was automatically a different pathway for me. I lived in the dorms here until I had my son, my first son, and then I lived in Grad Village for a couple of years and then moved back home to Providence and actually finished my undergraduate degree going to night classes in the Providence campus while I worked full time during the day. So when I finished college, there was no question that I was going to continue into the workforce because at that point, it wasn't just about me. I had a child to care for. I was a single mom, and so I had to prioritize that above everything else. Interestingly enough, for me, the question was more about, which I think this goes back to the first question. Um, I was working in the business sector, had nothing to do with what my undergraduate degree in human development and family studies was, right? Early childhood concentration. And so at that point, I had to convince myself that I had the transferable skills needed to continue on in that business sector and continue to move up the ladder, that I didn't have to, just because I graduated with a different degree, quit my job and try to make a different move. That's not what I wanted for myself at the time. I was actually happy with the job I had, and I had supportive supervisors that saw something in me more than I saw in myself as well. So understanding what those transferable skills were and speaking up and advocating for those skills that I knew I had was also what led me to move up quickly in that sector as well. And so that's one thing that I would say to all of you. Understand the assets that you're bringing when you come out, right? Understand how the things that you've learned are transferable into different industries, different jobs, different sectors, because no one may necessarily take the time to write down what those skills are and show you how they're transferable, but it's a really, really important thing that you need to be able to do for yourself.
Thank you for that. If you have not written down transferable skills, you are not listening. That is imperative that you understand. And I even hear like the next layer, which is so important, about like, ain't nobody else come to tell you what your transferable skills are. You got to know that for yourself, right? And have this confidence. So thank you, Bernadette.
It's so funny that Tammy tells that story because we recently met, but um, we have very similar stories. I was pregnant with my first son at the end of my last year here at URI. And I had one semester left with like 3 classes. And I remember coming back in September and everybody looking like, what the? Like, how are you pregnant? You're like due in 5 seconds. But I was really determined. I pushed through that last semester. And similarly, because I had a child and had to make the choice of going into workforce, I also decided not to get my master's right away because, as I mentioned, I really just didn't know what I wanted to do. I picked my initial major, which was English and in journalism. I double majored, and I picked that based on the skills that I already had. I was a strong writer, and they were things that I really actually enjoyed doing, but that doesn't mean that it was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I didn't want to take a step into getting a master's that was aligning with that because I really wasn't sure if that was what I wanted to do. So um, to that same vein for you all, I want to encourage you to take the time to actually test out what it is that you want to do. Some people know what they want to do, like it's just ingrained in them. Some people come from families of doctors, lawyers, whatever, and they just know that's the path that they want to choose. And if you don't know what the path is, it's okay. So I would say, as you progress along your educational journey, take time to build in um, opportunities to test out what it is that you want to do. Try to combine your education with work. If there's opportunities for you to work on campus, I know for me, I was in the TD building every second that I could. I was trying to convince them that I could work there, even if they didn't have jobs that were open. I worked on campus in the housing department, and those transferable skills took me very, very far. So it's okay for you not to make a decision right away. Take time, test out what it is that you're interested in, and then from there, make an informed choice on what you're going to do next.
Thank you for that. I hear a lot about intentionality. Please. Ah, Tammy, that's your job. You brought it up.
Well, there you go. There you go. So, transferable skills, as I am using the term, is the skills that you're gaining through your current major, right? The things that you're learning in your classrooms, and it may be something that is related specifically to your major, but there are nuggets in there that you can apply to anything, right? So, for example, every major, whether it's communication heavy or not, are going to teach you communication skills, right? It's going to teach you how to communicate, the language, the words that are used, the acronyms that are used in your field. That's all part of the field that you're learning. That's all part of communication. And you can use those same communication skills in a different field, in a different sector, in a different job. It doesn't have to be just for that. Communication skills are actually, the primary skills that you're going to need across your life in anything that you do.
Thank you for that. I want to give a little bit, please clap that up. And I want to give a little bit of pushback. How many of y'all, let's do a real confessions, right? How many of y'all wake up in the morning and scroll through your Instagram or check all your social media stuff? Go ahead, raise your hands real high. The same way you pull out those phones to do that, if somebody says something you don't know, Google that. We used to have to ask Jeeves, right? But now I'm gonna tell you to Google that, right? There are some times that you'll be in a conversation, somebody will throw out a word you don't know, write it down, go look it up and inform yourself in a real way, right? And while we're on that topic, if you don't know what 21st century skills are, Google that, okay? Some people have done research, and sometimes you got to do your own research, but sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so we thank you for that, Tammy. Steve,
You mind repeating the question?
where'd you go? What happened after URI? What happened when all the parties at the union ended, and they put you a cap, and they said goodbye, and them kids was throwing that inflated balloon up around and playing while we're having graduation? What did you do after that day? After graduating from here, what pathway did you take? And I know you've touched on it a little bit, that you went to grad school.
Yes.
Maybe give us 2 more points after that of what it looked like for you.
So I started out initially in college actually as an engineering major. I did that for 3.5 years. Midway through my journey, I had joined the military because I needed assistance for college. Similarly, I'm a first-generation student myself. My dad is a taxi driver. My mom she worked as a cashier at a gas station. So I joined the military as freshman year, and I was told that I was not going to get deployed. That wasn't true. Junior year, I was informed that I was going to get deployed to Afghanistan. So then second semester of my junior year, I got deployed for a year, and then I came back, so then I lost 1.5 years. When I came back, as part of the industrial engineering curriculum, I had to take an accounting class. And then when I took that in the summer, I really enjoyed it, and then that summer I switched. And then the path that took me is I became an auditor for the Auditor General at the state, and it's something I've been doing for the past 10 years.
Amazing, and please clap it up. I definitely want to say, and I'm sorry we didn't say it earlier, but thank you for your service. We appreciate you. Rex, what happened with you? What was the after party after URI looking like for you?
Man.
Tell us only the parts that we can have the children listen to, Rex.
I don't know if y'all ready for my story.
You ready?
So I think I was a bio major, and throughout my schooling here, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with that. It was, well, maybe I'm going to work in a lab. Maybe I'm going to do something in the sciences. I did some projects here on campus, and those were exciting. I think the best thing that happened to me was for the simple fact that I had my really good friend. It was nice to be surrounded by friends and people you could talk to. That's the best part. The first gen thing, that's me as well. The thing about me going through high school, not knowing what I was going to do, not knowing what I was going to do coming to college, because I'm a transplant from Liberia. I was born in Liberia. I came when I was 12. I knew nothing about the system here. I just got put into the system in middle school. It was very tough trying to go through all of that. It's great to have guidance counselors and stuff like that, but that's only if they talk to you. If they're actually meeting with you and doing those things and actually helping everybody learn on the same level, on what needs to happen and what needs to be done. Anyways, that's a total different conversation for another time.
A necessary point, though, so.
Told y'all my story's kind of crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's a necessary point. Don't apologize for anything you say tonight, please, y'all. Go ahead.
So, I was very confused throughout high school. It was great to have wonderful friends. They took me through and said, "Hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that." And the good thing for me is I was kind of I was a yes man at the time. So you say we're gonna do this, I'm like, sure, let's do it. We graduated, and they said we're gonna go to URI, or we're gonna go to TD. I was like, hey, I'm doing this URI and TD thing because they're all doing it. All right. So we came here, we did that. I made some new friends going through college. Didn't know, I started college before I probably even knew anything about what a GPA was. Okay, I was probably a junior in college before I knew how important a GPA was. Let's put it that way. So a lot of people already know things coming in, what you want to do, and you say, well, if I aspire to do this, I've got to have this kind of GPA to do that, right? Yeah. I was just moving along, and I said, well, if I'm passing and I'm going from class to class, this is great. So anyways, graduated, and my best friend at the time said, hey, maybe we should do medicine. We should try this medical school thing. And I was like, sure, let's try that, Then again, same thing. You have guidance counselors. You have counselors and stuff in college, and it just depends on how well they follow you and how well they push you and how much they know what you're trying to do, how much they know you as a person versus just, well, are you passing your classes? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, that sort of thing. Anyways, we went to talk to the science department at the time, and they said, dude, you want to be a med student, you want to go to med school, you are not prepared. Have you seen your GPA, what you've done, da-da-da-da? And anyways, my best friend at the time, Trish, she says, forget about them. It don't matter what they said. We'll go ahead and we'll make it happen anyways. We're going to study for the MCATs, and we're going to show them. So anyways, one thing led to another, and if it wasn't for me actually taking the guidance from my friends and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. That's just the quick gist. I don't want to take up too much time because my story.
No, you're okay, Rex. What happened after college? Yeah. Tell us. Come on, give us the happily ever after.
And so when we started studying for the MCATs, I want to say she came up to me one day and said, hey, by the way, we can probably try some offshore schools, and we can try some of those and see what they say. And I was like, all right, sure. So, we went down a list of some offshore schools, and the first one on there was American University of Antigua in Antigua and Barbuda. We tried them, and they said, hey, what have you guys done so far? We was like, man, we've done all of our undergrad. We've done, where we've done all the prerequisites and everything. And they said, well, that's actually cool. We're accepting those things. We'll just transfer all those credits. And then you guys can just start in the medical school program if y'all want. And we said, well, we're studying for the MCATs right now. And they said, well, this is actually a good time because at this very time and space, we're only going by what you've done in your undergrad this entire time. We're not looking at MCATs at this very time and place. And we was like, what? Okay, when do we come over? So one thing led to another, and we ended up in Antigua and Barbuda. We did what we had to do, came back. It was an accelerator program. Came back, did our clinicals in New York City, New York State, did a bunch of that, and did some schooling in Florida. Went to Arkansas for residency, got into residency there, and I've been in Arkansas since. I'm a family medicine doctor, and if I told you the story 200 more times, you wouldn't believe what I actually went through to get where I am. The success is pretty much on the backs of all of my friends and all the people who pretty much I knew growing up. George was one of those guys. We grew up together, and yeah.
Y'all clap it up for that. You was gonna make us miss that, Rex? Stop it. All in the name of time, cut it out. You sounded like you was from the Mason-Dixon line. But now that makes sense. That's amazing. And I empathize with that story because in my senior year of URI, I realized I wasn't ready for the world. And instead of crossing stage in the 4-year plan, I took the 5-year plan and went to St. Croix, Virgin Islands. Want to shout out UVI for making me who I am today in that capacity. But sometimes you have to leave your comfort zones in order to become who you are. And you don't know how many miracles are out there waiting for you. So thank you for sharing that. Aganza, tell us how you took over our city.
Um, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like listening to all you guys. It's crazy how we all connect at one point. But I just look at you guys, and I'm not gonna lie. I definitely. I don't know if it's PTSD or I'm like I know exactly what you guys are like. I just could remember that feeling of being in college, and I keep telling myself like, what would I want to hear? And so, like she said, we don't want to hear a pity party, but I just do want to say that I went through a lot as I came to the US when I was 17, so halfway through my senior year of high school, and my English was just not so good. So, I wasn't black enough, but then again, I wasn't white enough. And then for my Latino communities, because I'm Dominican, I'm not a proper Latina because Dominicans we're considered like the black sheep. And so at our time, all my Dominican friends, shout out to I met some Dominican associate over here, so I was just so excited about it. But anyways, I had friends who their parents had a house and had all these things. So when in college, I struggled with just fitting in, period. I'm that Latina that I was the artsy, I love black, and everybody's like, you're emo, and I'm like, no, I just love black. And I was just constantly picked on because of who I am, because I was just being authentically myself, and I just didn't care. And so my friends who were Latino that I only got along with all were like, okay, I'm not gonna stay on campus, peace, second year. And I didn't have that. So I actually, while everybody was going on spring break, I lived in my little red hatchback. Was homeless on breaks, but I was so embarrassed to tell anybody. So to keep myself busy, I actually would apply for jobs, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a spring break job, or just to keep myself busy, keep myself going. I would try to tell my advisor. I don't even remember my advisor. I'm gonna be 100% honest to you. But I can say there's always going to be that professor that hits you right in the heart and knows you and could read you before you even say something and value that professor. Because I had a professor, Bob Dilworth. Oh my God, I love him. And he pushed me to the max, and he said, Angela, if you don't go big, you better go home, because there's something in you that nobody's seeing, but because you're so introvert and you think because you don't speak the language as proper, you think you don't fit in, but you're going to be somebody big. And I was just like, you crazy. So, but I think again, if you're going through something, it's a good thing. I say when a lot of rain happens, is because a lot of flowers are coming. So if you're going through something right now and you feel like, oh my God, I'm not gonna graduate, I'm not gonna get a job, you're wrong, because that means whatever is meant for you, your life has challenged you to see if you're fit for that. So I think I had to go through that. I had to live, I didn't even know what taxes were. I'm like, what taxes? What, you got credit score? What? That's what we're living off of. So I'm learning these things, and I'm homeless, and I'm trying to figure out life, how to figure out everything. And so I was living on campus. I was so grateful because the TD program provided me with online housing after I finally confessed, because I couldn't take it no more, and they helped me. And I think being able to keep yourself busy. Don't say poor me, poor me. Give yourself an exact excuse. Like, you can give everybody else an excuse, but to give yourself an excuse like, oh, I can't do this because of that. No, you can. So you just have to do it. And I think that will, because everybody's gonna have a different path, but that's gonna push you to where you need to go. Everything that's coming across your path is happening for a reason. And you either take that as a lesson, or you take that whatever you wanna take it as, but you're gonna have to go through those challenges to be able to have, because you can't just skip the challenges. When you get to that success, when you get to that, you're like, okay, you don't even appreciate it, because you have to like struggle to be able to appreciate that success. And so, being a muralist now, like, it was like everybody says a starving artist. You know like the heads I got turned when I told people I was an art major. People were like, so what's your second major? And I'm like, no, that's my major. And so I needed to prove that, and I literally created a job for myself. There was in Rhode Island, existed no muralist jobs. and the muralist jobs were artists that came out of state who were not of color. And so I was like, I'm gonna have to figure it out. And I went from, being a social worker. That was my first job on campus. I was being for all kids with autism, and I would use my art as therapy. So I incorporated, again, transferable skills. I used my art and what I love to do to put it in that job, and my boss noticed it, and she was just like, you should really run an art program here. And from that art program, everybody was just speaking about me. Oh my God, this girl does this. And it went from that to like, can you paint me this? And it was just like, it doesn't happen one day to another. It's gonna happen in baby steps. And so it went from me painting a painting in my car, homeless, to I'm getting to take pictures with like
Go ahead, name
big
drop. Go
celebrities.
ahead, be a
With, like-
celebrity. Name
with,
drop.
like Sexy Red and Trippy Red and all these amazing artists, and it's just, and to be in a room full of like celebrities and be on like these TV shows and being makeup artists and doing all these great things, it's like, damn, I wish I could go back and tell that girl that was crying in the car to just like, you got this, just keep pushing. It's gonna take time, but just keep pushing. So that's what I want.
I told y'all that like part of this is just the honesty and stuff like that. It takes a lot of vulnerability. It takes a lot of confidence to even talk about your hurt past sometimes, right? But when you know the purpose of it and you know how to repackage, turn your wounds into wisdom, it really makes sense, y'all. So thank you for that. George, what happened to you? I used to see you at the parties and then you just disappeared. Now you got locks. Now you look all grown. What happened, George, after you arrived?
Well, I just end up moving to the Sunshine State, Florida. But I'm just gonna keep this just kind of quick and short. Initially, I came to URI. One of my goals was to actually play football. I actually played football the first 2 years, but at the same time, my major was actually nursing, and I just did nursing because my mom wanted me to do nursing. If you have any Nigerian friends, you always know they're either medical, pharmacists, or engineers. So, who's Nigerian in here?
There you go.
What's your major? Psychology. Okay, medical. But long story short, I graduated with my bachelor in nursing. After graduating from here, I moved to Florida, and I went to University of Miami, and I got my master's degree in nurse anesthetist, which is the School of Anesthesiology. So during my rotation in University of Miami, I was working with when I was in a hospital, I was working with a cardiac anesthesiologist, and while we were doing a case, doing surgery, and I just remember we had a conversation that kind of changed my life. And basically, while we were doing the case, he told me to look down on my hand. And I looked at my hand, and there was nothing there. So basically looked at him. I was like, what am I looking at? He was like, look at your hand. He was like, look at this. So then I realized he was talking about the color of my skin being black. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, it's black. He was like, so basically he was telling me at that point in time, he would say, for the simple fact I was a black man, he was saying it was unacceptable to come to the clinical setting with the minimum knowledge. So basically he was just telling me at the end of the day, being a minority, whatever field you decide to do, whatever major you decide to take on, you can't settle for the minimum. If you're in a field that has a doctorate degree, you have to get that doctorate degree. Don't stop at the bachelor, don't stop at the master's. You gotta go all the way. Because a lot of the time, that's the only way you're gonna get your respect by your peers, by different people of color. So after having that conversation, that changed my life, because with my field of study, a master's degree is fine. I don't have to go for a doctorate. But after that conversation, the following year, I ended up going to Barry University, and I got my doctorate degree. So basically, long story short, just whatever major you decide to do, whatever field you're in, don't settle for the minimum. If there's a master's degree, get that master's degree.
If there's a doctorate degree, get that doctorate degree. Because once you get in the work field, as a minority going into the work field and going against your peers, when you put in that job application, that degree is gonna matter. So, if that's one thing you could take out of this is just go all the way to the top. Don't settle for the minimum, do whatever you gotta do and get that highest degree that you can.
Yes, give it up. Two things come to mind. I think about the song like "Ain't No Half Steppin'," right? Like go the full way. There is no like a superhero doesn't put on just like its mask and goes out, right? Like full armor, right? So armoring yourself with credentials, with skills, and not for anybody else, but for your true self. And George, I just want to confess up here that I really didn't know what happened to you after URI until I got the write-ups of what you guys are all doing. And as somebody who has had 7 major surgeries in my life, for you to sit where you sit and to know that lives are being entrusted in your hands, I feel so proud to know you. So I just want to give you your flowers while you're here, because that's super dope. Give that a round of applause, please. All right, bring us home.
So, coming into URI, I think looking back, I'm doing nothing what I thought I would be doing. Well, coming into URI, I really wanted to be a doctor. Clearly, I'm not my brother over here. But I ended up doing engineering. Chuck's in the room. He scooped me right out of college. I got a scholarship. Went through the engineering program, super hard. You talk about these parties. Engineers didn't get to go to the parties because we didn't really have time.
Nesby used to have parties.
And if they did, I want to know your GPA. But I'm just kidding. But yeah, I got out of college and, I didn't have a job for about a year. I probably applied and I had a spreadsheet about 30, 40 places, and I've interviewed round after round, made it to the last round, and I would never get the job. Think about being rejected so many times. And obviously, again, like being someone who's a daughter of an immigrant, like I can't just sit at home, like I have to work. So I took jobs. I worked at Starbucks. Now I know all the recipes. I worked at a bank. I was a banker, but during that time, I was like, all right, I can either, and we talked about this, like I can either take rejection and sit here, or how do I take this and how do I make myself marketable? So one of the things I did, I kind of forced myself to get my MBA because I got a biomedical engineering degree, and unfortunately everyone knows without a master's degree, sometimes it's really hard to get into that field. So I was like, well, if I get a master's, I can probably get myself to be more marketable. I didn't want to do engineering because I died, and yeah, never again. But got my MBA, working through that. But when I was working at the bank, and I used to work on the island, Newport, we had customers. These people are wealthy customers, and there's also a lot of engineering contractors there. And one of my customers actually was an engineer. So I used my networking skills. You gotta be ready to go, guys. Like, you sell yourself. Don't be too needy, though. Don't be that. We don't like those people. But naturally, he got me a job at Electric Boat. That's how I ended up at Electric Boat, gained my experience. And I think our sister over here was talking about transferable skills. GPA is great, but I tell you, I've met some people with PhDs in engineering that, they don't have street skills. So I grew up in Providence, I grew up in the hood, and I was like, that character built me up. And in the corporate world, that works. Mm-hmm. You know how to talk to people, you don't take people's BS. You know how to market, so you're gonna be on top. So especially on the defense industry, right? So at EB, now I'm working at Raytheon, I'm around a lot of men. So all the young women of color here, we don't only get the whammy of being a woman of color, we get the whammy because we're also a woman. And some men are really difficult to work with. And you really need to put it in, especially Navy guys, it takes whatever. I'm a feisty woman. My hood comes out and I don't care. You disrespect me, you better get it together, because that's not fair, right? But loved my job, got my job, worked through it. But I do think something that happened during my 20s, and I think as any immigrants, you have trauma. And that's something that needs to be spoken about more often. And your parents carry this trauma, and there are things that you need to deal with and unlearn, right? And in your 20s, you're unlearning what you don't want to carry on and identifying the values that you do want to carry on. So I went through my issues, my mental health issues, and despite loving my job, I was like, there's no resources for us. Who do we go to as a woman of color? Who do we go to talk about these issues? Because there's not really much. So I was like, well, there's nobody. I'm going to go get a freaking degree, and I'm going to be a counselor, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to help my community because these things are going to be talked about. Will I know that I think that I was going to go and get like a mental health degree? No. I was like completely off guard. But life takes you in ways and things that you go through that you never expect. But the one thing that I have learned is know your values, because values are the road that takes you. And then there are pit stops, which are your goals. And that can be your degrees, that can be your careers, that can be your jobs, whatever it is. But just know who you are. And don't be scared to be who you are, especially entering the corporate field. And I struggle sometimes, right? I mean, this past week, this is my first couple years of being a lead, and I'm the only Latina there. I was looking around, I was like, all these people are white, and I'm gonna be real, like, and I'm like, you people, how do I talk to you? You don't know, you never went through what I went through. But I was like, I can either hide who I am, or I can be confident and be who I am, and that's what's gonna make me better, and it's gonna make me stand out. So.
I love that. Clap it up. All right, y'all, we're getting to the spicy part. How many people are hungry in here? Raise your hands. Look, my brother over there was like, I am. Yes, I am. So this is how you're going to get to food, because I'm also an educator, right? And exit tickets are real. We are going to test your professionalism. So I'm giving you 30 seconds each. I know. And you don't even know where I'm going to start. I'm giving you 30 seconds each to just speak on what you hope your legacy will be. 30 seconds to tell me what your legacy, but I'm also giving y'all an opportunity because I'm gonna take 3 really, really thoughtful questions from the audience. And I'm only taking 3 in the interest of feeding the people that are hungry, right? Because your brain don't work too good when it's hungry. Chuck said, I keep picking out this salad, but it ain't working. So I'm gonna take 3 questions from the audience. So I'm gonna ask that 3 people stand up when you're ready after we get the answers here. And then, panelists, are y'all sticking around? Yeah, so they're gonna eat with y'all, we're gonna break bread and ask questions, okay? So panelists, I'm actually gonna start at Aganza, and we're gonna go down to George, Jessica, and then hop back this way. Yes, I did it. 30 seconds, what is your legacy?
Well, I hope my legacy will be, let me rephrase that, someone who was able to use my art to stand for my people and never stand down, and always stay true to myself, and always let the next Afro-Latina or little girl, chubby little Afro-Latina know that you gonna be okay. So.
My legacy is just to be able to leave an impact to every patient that I end up taking care of during my whole career. Just make the process of going through surgery painless, and just giving them that feeling that there's someone by their side at all times.
For me, it would be authentic to yourself, especially people of color, and just be confident and be who you are and seek your values.
Amazing.
Okay, my legacy is going to be that I use my positivity and my relationship skills to help others understand their purpose and follow their passions.
Yes.
My legacy will be to be selfless. My legacy would be to climb to the top, and when I get to the top, I'm gonna develop a roadmap and come back down and share it with everyone.
Go ahead, Harriet.
My legacy it would be, I hope to inspire people that you could overcome. I faced a lot of challenges in my life, and sometimes I ask God, why do I have to face so much stuff? And so I just hope to inspire people that no matter what you're going through, that you have the ability to overcome.
Yes. Rex,
right.
bring us home.
I'm an educator at heart. I love to teach, and my legacy overall is just I've learned so much along the way in life. And I feel like those life lessons need to be taught because of my little experience that I said where I didn't know a lot growing up in America in a whole new system. So I've been teaching that back every opportunity that I have, and I just want to give that back to as many people that I can, whether it be from work field or just life overall.
Yes. Clap it up for them. All right, this is how it's gonna go. 3 questions. 3 questions. There we go, Steady. Steady just stood up. We need 2 more people.
Stand up. Stand.
Stand up. We have 2, and then that's 3. Perfect. Kate is coming with the microphone. Please say your name, say your year, and then articulate your question really clearly. And I'll ask that one person answer.
My name is Simon Javidakwa. My major was cellular and molecular biology in the pre-med track. Graduated last year, 2023. So I have a question for Rex, but first I want to say that, you just being a physician, is very inspiring a lot of pre-med people around here, if I'm the only one. But, you don't see a lot of black physicians in America in general. I think just like less than 10%. And, just taking the MCAT is very like daunting already. So I want to ask, like, as an aspiring like person that's trying to go to med school, like, what tips you have for people either studying for the MCAT or just building networks to you know get connected with someone that could like so we could go to medical school.
Okay. Um, Building networks, for sure you need that. That's always important in every field. And where I am now, I've learned that along the way that it's great to know somebody. There's a lot of people who you might be far more experienced, than and probably smarter than that person, but that person gets to move forward because they know someone who knows someone who knows someone. So that's the first thing. The second thing is never sell yourself short. Everybody can do anything you want to do. It's just about putting the work in it. Everybody says, well, you're a doctor. I don't think I can be a doctor. And you're like, yeah, you can. It's just like I felt that way at first, myself, but then going through it, you realize it's just blood, sweat, and tears like everything else you go through. And if you put the hard work in, you'll get there. There's a bunch of avenues. If you need extra stuff to help you study for the MCATs, there's tons of stuff out there. The biggest life lesson I ever learned from one of the physicians I followed when I was doing my training is he said, "You see on my wall, I have a degree. That degree says I went to medical school. I'm a medical doctor, and I do X." And he says, "But what you don't see on that degree is how hard I had to struggle to get to where I am today. All you see is the end result on the wall, but it doesn't tell you how many times I failed one of these standardized exams trying to get into medical school or trying to finish my medical school education." And he says that's something that you keep dear to you, but everybody thinks that just because someone's a doctor that everything happened perfectly for that person. It doesn't always work like that for everyone. So just stay strong and know that anybody can do it. You just got to put the work in.
Thank you for that. There is no cheat code. There's no shortcuts in life. You got to take Machu Picchu. You got to do all the steps. And so we appreciate the honesty about that.
My name is Skyla Anderson. I'm a freshman. My major is public relations. And I want to say I appreciate you guys' vulnerability to come and say this. All the panelists, you guys have amazing stories that we've been listening to. I really appreciate the honesty too. We can see a little bit of all of you guys' personalities. But my question is if it was easy for you guys to find a community here on campus.
Oh my God, I gotta respond to this immediately.
She said that one's mine.
I'm gonna say no, and that's okay though. Don't think that that's a bad thing. Again, like I said, I didn't fit in no group because, of I just didn't fit. So I would say one thing I regret of doing is involving myself into more activities on campus, like, organizations and stuff like that. I think that's one thing I did regret. I think because of, I just was so focused on how different I look or, I got more bullied in college than in high school, which is absolutely insane. But I think I pushed myself out of there, but don't let others push you out of something that could potentially help you. So, but no, I did not have a group at all.
And can I please add on that, because I know a little bit. So a little nasty habit I have is like passing by when she's doing murals and beeping at her and going like, "Hey!" while she's like all up on a ladder with a can in her hand and everything like that, right? But all of that to say lions don't run with gazelles, right? There are certain animals that are not meant to be in packs. Right? And so when I hear that, I think about eagles, right? And it's like aim high and soar higher, right? And just know that not everybody's meant to be in flock. And so I appreciate y'all touching on that, because everybody thinks that you're supposed to be part of everything, right? So I appreciate that question. Next one. Y'all can clap while we pass the microphone. We don't have one of them clap signs, but I'll tell y'all to do it.
Hello, my name is Yeri Remigio, and I'm a first-year student in mechanical engineering. Firstly, like our two friends said before, it's very inspiring to see you guys here on panels today, taking space in this community, which is, again, a predominantly white institution. And again, a lot of us come from those backgrounds where our parents might have not gone to college. We might have not been offered the same resources in high school. What are some ways that you guys recommend providing those resources to people that come before you?
So I will take this. So I remember when I was down here, a lot of I actually got together with a group of friends and we formed our own group. Actually, Rex was actually part of that group, and it was actually called Underground Railroad. And basically, what I'm just saying is that sometimes you may not have the resource, but you make the resource. So not everything is going to be handed down to you. Rex was actually a year ahead of me, and he was also, I was doing nursing, he was doing, he was pre-med. A lot of the courses were similar. So in terms of just, whether it's just books, whether just knowing your teachers, whether it's just, just passing down information, like how to study for a class, just little information like that was just resourceful, where we formed a group where we just basically just spoke to each other, like, okay, how did you study for this class? Or, maybe what textbook did you use to study? Or, how is this teacher? When you're registering for the classes, like what teachers to take. So basically what I'm saying that if you don't have the resource, you make the resource. Just not make an excuse. If there's a way, at the end of the day, you're gonna make it happen. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Amazing. The nice thing that I keep hearing over and over again is like, there's no no. There's no real no, right? It's a not yet, right? It hasn't happened yet. And so we have reached that part that we're actually going to get around to feeding you. But we don't want to move on without feeding you, without acknowledging some really important people that helped today happen, and then presenting y'all with gifts. Y'all want gifts?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we're gonna do acknowledgments and then gifts, and then we are gonna get to food. If you're ready for food, let me see you. Let me see your hands in the air, and wave them like you just don't care. And if you're gonna save me a plate, let me hear you say, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah.
All right.
Don't eat all the bread.
So if we can have some of the Alumni College student leaders, 70 y'all, please line up, grab some of the gifts, and present them to our panelists. Need about 7 of y'all.
Clap it up for them.
She said, choose your person. Right? It's all right. It's all right.
Photo op.
All right.
Give it up for the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So before Sarah directs y'all on the direction of where to eat, I want to give a shout out to Caribbean Soul, who was our caterer this evening. Give it up to Caribbean Soul. And I'll also be very remiss if I didn't announce 3 people who I forgot to mention in my initial thank yous. Dr. Jackie Tisdale, who is, Jackie Springer. My apologies, y'all. Dr. Jackie Springer, who is not here right now, but our sister's a big fan of the ACN, a big supporter of the ACN, and I want to give it up for her. Coordinator for the Center for Career and Express Education, and that is my sister, Christy Embrock Seals. And former immediate colleague, still a colleague of mine though, and that is alumnus Asia Marino, who is now an advisor in the honors program. So give it up for them, and I appreciate you all being here. Sarah, take it over.
Really quick, let's put some people on the spot. Ernest, thank you for being behind the camera today. Give it up for the shooter. Kate, put your hands up. Kate has been dealing with us to coordinate all of this all of the time. And we truly, truly, truly appreciate, actually all of those from alumni engagement. Just stand up really quick and identify yourself. I see you back there. Hands up in the air. Please say thank you to them as they have been instrumental in tonight. So are y'all really, really ready to eat?
May I?
Yeah, please.
Thank you to you and Bobby
She's
for
trying to
putting
make me
this
cry, y'all.
wonderful event together.
That's right.
To our wonderful hosts. And thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
We really, really are grateful. All right, let's do gratitude through food. My favorite number is 8, so table 8, please go ahead. And then table 8, please get up and go. I will deploy 2 tables at a time, so 8 and 9, go.
Oh, no, there's no one at 8.
There's nobody at 8.
Oh, there's nobody at 8. Oh, there goes my favorite number. 9 and 10, 9 and 10, go ahead.
Well, you didn't pick a
Brother, what's the number of your table?
Oh, I guess.
7? Go ahead. That's a good number too.
I'm part of
Kate, can we get some music back up in here?